Hi, my name is Annie. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be making this beautiful peony granny square. Peony is the state flower of Indiana, and this granny square is part of my state flower granny square project. Two things before we get started. First of all, this is an easy intermediate level tutorial, so I will be showing all the steps in order for you to be able to complete the granny square. However, I will not go into a lot of detail for very basic crochet techniques and stitches. So if you're very new to crochet, I would recommend you start with one of my beginner-friendly tutorials before moving on to this one. A second thing to mention is that this is my original design. You are more than welcome to use the squares that you make with this tutorial in any of your crochet projects. The only thing I ask is that you give me credit for the design, and I will include super simple instructions in the description of this video on how to do that. To make this granny square, you are going to need yarn. If you want to make yours in 3 different colors like I've done here, pick 3 colors that you like. I am using this Hobby Rainbow 8/8 100% cotton yarn. This is a number 3 lightweight yarn. Then you're also going to need a crochet hook that matches the yarn weight that you picked, a yarn needle for weaving in your ends, and a pair of scissors. We are going to start our granny square from the middle, so go ahead and pick whatever yarn you want to use for the center of the peony, and we'll get started with that color. I'm using this bright yellow, and I'm going to start my granny square by making a slip knot. And I put it on my hook, and I chain 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I bring this into a ring by slip stitching here into that very first chain stitch. If you prefer starting your granny squares with a magic ring, you can also do that. All right, and then I chain 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And now for the center of the peony, I am going to need 12 half double crochet stitches. And this chain 2 here that I just chained is going to count as my first half double crochet. So after this one, I'm going to work 11 actual half double crochet stitches. So yarn over, I insert in the middle. Here I have to be careful not to insert into that obvious opening, but just underneath it in the very middle of the ring. I bring the yarn through 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 3, half double crochet. So this is how I work a total of 11 half double crochets around this ring. So far I have 3 half double crochets plus the initial chain 2. So I'm going to need 8 more actual half double crochets. I'm gonna let you go ahead and work around your ring, working those 12 half double crochets, including the initial chain 2. So work all around and then meet me back here. All right, I have worked my 12 half double crochets, including that initial chain 2 that counts as my first half double crochet. And now I'm gonna go ahead and close this round, and I'm gonna close it here by inserting my hook in that very first stitch there, kind of on the outside of the ring. So insert there, pull the yarn through and pull it through the loop on my hook. Then I'm gonna chain 1, break my yarn, and fasten off. Now, an important thing to mention is that for this next round, we are going to need 12 stitches here on the outside. So when you count your stitches here on the outside, you need to have 12 stitches for our next round. Important to mention, the way I close my round, or I just closed my round, is I slip stitch into the stitch. And now for this next round, I'm going to count this stitch here where it's just slip stitched into, as well as this previous stitch here, as 2 of those 12 stitches that I need for my next round. I'm mentioning this because I know sometimes people close their rounds differently. However you close your round, do make sure that you have 12 stitches on the outside that you're going to be working our next round into. For our next round, we are going to bring in whatever color you want to use for all these petals. So we're going to be doing 2 rounds of petals for this flower. So go ahead and grab your yarn. I am going to attach my yarn with a slip knot. If you have a different way of attaching your yarn, absolutely go ahead and use your method. But this is how I do it. And now I'm going to attach my yarn into one of these stitches here on the outside. Remember how we made sure that we have 12 stitches here on the outside that we're going to be working into for this round? Well, now I will go ahead and attach my yarn into one of these. Like so. I like to make sure here that my yarn is not going to escape, so I pull this yarn end tight. And I'm going to chain 1. And now for this first round of petals, each one of these petals is basically like a small cluster of double crochet stitches. So we are going to make 2 double crochets that we don't quite finish, and we finish them both at once. So we make what I call a partial double crochet, which I don't think is a real term, but I'm gonna show you here what I mean, and it's gonna make sense to you. So I chained 1 here, and this is actually going to count as my first partial double crochet. And now I will go ahead and make an actual partial double crochet into the same stitch. So yarn over as if I'm making a double crochet. I insert in the same stitch. I pull the yarn through. I have 3 loops on my hook. I go yarn over and pull through 2. That is what I call a partial double crochet. So now I have 2 partial double crochets here, since I count that chain 1 as a partial double crochet, and I will go yarn over and pull through 2, and then I chain 1. This first one is different because that's where we attach the yarn. We start with the chain 1, but now I'm going to show you how all the rest of the petals are going to work, and we need 11 in addition to this first one. So I chained 1 here, I go yarn over, I insert in the next stitch here on the outside, I pull that yarn through, I have 3 loops on my hook, I go yarn over, I pull through 2, and I stop. So if I was making an actual double crochet, I would go yarn over and pull through 2 again, but I want to leave that double crochet unfinished for now. So I make another one, yarn over, insert in the same stitch, pull the yarn through, 4 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through 2 and stop. So now I have 2 of what I call a partial double crochet in that same stitch, and I have 3 loops on my hook, and at this point I'll go yarn over and pull through all 3. So I kind of finish those 2 double crochets at once, and then I chain 1. I'll show you another one. Yarn over, insert in the next stitch, bring the yarn through, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. Then I make another one, yarn over, insert in the stitch, same stitch, bring the yarn through, 4 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. And that's my 2 partial double crochets. 3 loops on my hook, I go yarn over and I pull through all 3, and then I chain 1. So I always chain 1 stitch between these petals here. Let's make another one. Yarn over, insert in the next stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. Yarn over, insert in the same stitch, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. 3 loops on my hook, 2 partial double crochets, yarn over and pull through all 3, and then I chain 1 before the next petal. So that is how I work all around the center. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4 petals, so I'm going to need 8 more to have a total of 12 petals here. So go ahead, work around yours, and once you have 12, meet me back here. All right, I am ready to close this round. So the last thing I've done here is I completed my 12th petal, and then I chained 1 after that. And now I am going to close this round by slip stitching here into this space between those first 2 petals. So just straight into the space. Bring the yarn through and pull it through the loop on my hook. And that is my first round of petals. Next I'm going to start my second round, and this second round is going to be exactly the same as the first round of petals, with the difference that now we are making larger petals, and we're chaining more stitches in between those petals. So I am here, I just slip stitched to close that round, and I'm going to start by chaining 1. This is going to count as my first partial double crochet. And now I'm going to make 3 actual partial double crochets into the same space where I'm currently at. So let's go. Yarn over, insert in the space, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. Yarn over, insert in the space, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. 1 more. Yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2. My yarn split there. Let's do that last one again. So yarn over, insert in the space, pull the yarn through, yarn over and pull through 2. All right, so I have 3 what I call partial double crochets plus that initial chain 1, which is going to count as a partial double crochet, and I have 4 loops on my hook, and at this point I go yarn over and I pull through 4, and that is my first petal. I chain 2, and then I start my next petal in this chain 1 space between the next 2 petals. So yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and stop. Yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and stop. Yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and stop. One more. All right, let's see what I have. I have 4 partial double crochets and I have 5 loops on my hook. Now, if you remember with the first petal here, we had 4 loops on our hook at this point, and that was because we started with that chain 1. But now for all the rest of these petals, when you're at the point where you have 4 partial double crochets, you will have 5 loops on your hook when you go yarn over and pull through all 5. And then we chain 2. So the difference compared to the first round is that now we're making 4 partial double crochets here instead of 2, and we're chaining 2 stitches between petals instead of 1. But otherwise it's the same, exactly the same thing we did the previous round. So I have chain 2 here, and then I work another petal here in the next chain 1 space. So yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and stop. So I work 4 of these double crochets that I'm going to leave unfinished. Here we go. I have 4 partial double crochets, 5 loops on my hook, and I go yarn over, pull through all 5, and then I chain 2 between the petals. And this is exactly how we work all around our peony. So we're going to need a total of 12 petals, working always in these chain 1 spaces of the previous round. And always chaining 2 stitches between petals. So now if you want to see again how we made the petals, you can rewind and watch again these last 2 petals we made. The first one is a little different, okay? But the last 2 petals, and make all the rest of the petals exactly the same way. And once you have 12 petals, meet me back here. All right, I have worked my 12 petals for this round as well. And after the last one, I have chained 2 stitches. And now I will go ahead and close this round by slip stitching here, again into the space between the first 2 petals. Just a slip stitch there. Then I chain 1. And I can fasten off. Pull that tight. And here is my peony. All right, we are ready to get started on the next round. And now we're going to start crochet the square around the peony. If the edges of your peony cup a little bit, sort of like mine do here, I do like to pull it a little bit here, just to make sure those chain stitches are not pulling the edges up, but also these next 2 rounds will help flatten it out. So I'm gonna bring in my background color. You can of course use whatever color you want for the background, and I will start by attaching my yarn with the slip knot again. And now I'm going to attach my yarn into one of these chain 2 spaces between petals. So right here at the start of that chain 2 space. That's my yarn there, and again pull that yarn end tight. And I'm going to start by making a corner, and here we can see I have 2 clusters of treble crochet stitches in one of those chain 2 spaces on this round. So each corner is worked in one chain 2 space, and then I have on the sides 2 clusters of double crochet stitches in those chain 2 spaces on the side. So if you have made granny squares in the past, this round is going to be very easy for you. So I attach my yarn there, and I'm going to chain 3 stitches. And this chain 3 is going to count as my first treble crochet. If you chain 4 for treble crochet, you can of course do that too. And then I will work 2 more treble crochets, or 2 actual treble crochets. So I go yarn over twice, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Treble crochet. Yarn over twice, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Another treble crochet. And now this is my first treble crochet cluster for this corner. I'm going to chain 2 stitches for the corner, 1 and 2. And then I will work 3 more treble crochets into the same chain 2 space. So yarn over twice, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. 2 more treble crochet stitches into the same corner space. Here we go. And that is my first corner. Now I'm going to work my first side into this next 2 chain 2 spaces. And I'm going to work 3 double crochets into each one of these spaces. So 3 double crochet stitches. There's one, and then I'll make another one in the next one. There it is. So that's my side. 2 clusters of double crochets in those 2 spaces. And now in the next chain 2 space, I will work my next corner. So 3 treble crochets. I chain 2 for the corner, and then I work 3 more treble crochets into the same space. All right, here we go. So far I have made here 2 corners and 1 side. And now I'm going to work the rest of the sides exactly the same way I work this side here. So here in the next 2 chain 2 spaces, I'll make those granny stitches. And then the 2 remaining corners are going to be exactly the same way as this corner here. So if you need to, feel free to go ahead, rewind and watch how we made this side, make the rest of the sides the same way, and this corner, and make the 2 remaining corners exactly the same way as this one. So work all around and then meet me back here. All right, I have worked all around my peony and now I'm ready to close this round. And here I like to go into this first stitch there, kind of on the outside, and slip stitch there. But of course you can close your round whichever way you prefer. And then here I like to slip stitch my way to the next corner because I like starting my rounds in the corner whenever possible. So here I am in the corner. And now the next round is going to be my last round. And for this last round, I am just creating granny stitches all around. So I'm working 3 double crochets into each one of these spaces between the previous rounds clusters. And then in the corners, I'm making 3 double crochets, chain 2 for the corner, and 3 double crochets. So now, if you have made granny squares before, this round is super easy. So I'm here in the corner and I start by chaining 2, which is going to count as my first double crochet. If you do something different here to start with a double crochet, feel free to do it your way. But I chain 2 and that's my first double crochet. Then I work 2 actual double crochets right after that, chain 2, and that forms my first cluster of double crochets. I chain 2 for the corner, and then I work 3 more double crochets into the same space. So the corner space is always 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. All right, here's my first corner. And now I will move on to the side and work 3 double crochets into that space between the previous round's clusters. This round we don't need those treble crochets because we already have that square shape. So we can just work double crochets all around. And that's how I work all around the square. So 3 double crochets into each one of these spaces on the sides, and then in the corner I will make 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. So go ahead, work all around your square and meet me back here. I have finished my last round and now I'm ready to close this. And just like the previous round, I like to go here under this first stitch there, kind of on the outside, and slip stitch there. Chain 1, break my yarn, and fasten off. And here is my peony granny square for Indiana. The only things that I have left here is weaving in the rest of those ends and then blocking the square. But otherwise, I'm all done. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you're posting pictures of your peony square on Instagram, I would love to see those pictures. So you can tag my account on Instagram. It's Wildflower and Stitch. Thank you again so much for watching this tutorial. If you like this, please leave me a comment, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video. All of those things do help me a lot. Thanks so much. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.